So this video is going to be about the Letshuoer S12 audiophile in-ear monitors. Yeah, okay. Interesting, they changed their name to Letshuoer from ShuoerAcoustics.com, or just Shure. So anyway, this is the box. These are the IEMs. I'm going to have some close-ups in the video, of course. Cable, case, and you guys have seen unboxings. I don't think we need to cover this. There's just a bunch of... There's some tips. Comes plastic case with some... So it has a nice selection of tips that it comes with. Yeah, and I used the black ones. They worked fine. Box is pretty nice. You could use it afterwards for something else if you want. I don't know, keep it watching it or something. The case, I really like the case that they have. I like the case on the Tape Pro. That's what this is. Exact same case. No difference at all. Exact same case. This one says Letshuoer printed on it, which is kind of nice, and then letshuoer.net on the back. It's interesting because this just has like an S with some plastic covering it, which is kind of cool, I guess. And on the back it says ShuoerAcoustics.com. So I think Linsol bought Letshuoer. I'm not 100% on that one. I didn't really do any research. I can maybe do that and put something up here in the video. So the case I like. It's very hard. This type of a seal, where it's got this kind of rubber lined or rubber coated fabric that kind of covers the zipper. When you zip it closed, it creates the seal, which is not waterproof. I mean, if you go put this in the bathtub or the sink or something, I think it's definitely going to get wet inside. But for the most part, if you spill some water in the case or something like that, it's not going to get through. It's going to do a pretty good job of protecting it. And I've kind of tested it out with the Tape Pros. So the case holds everything just fine and fits in my pocket really, really easily. So I definitely like that. The IEMs, well, you can see there, and you're going to see in the close-ups there. Mine, I got the gray ones. I don't know if they call these the titanium or the dark gray. I'm not sure which it was. It says Letshuoer in big white letters, S12 208, and the R and L for left. Let's take that off of there. The tips are not too big, so they fit most all of the tips that I have, so no problem with that. It's a 2-pin 78 millimeter, I believe, because I've got some other 78 millimeter cables that I tested on this, and they work just fine. Let's talk about the cable for a second. I like the cable. This is the exact same cable as the Tape Pro. I have the Tape Pro here, and I like the cable the Tape Pro came with, and I swapped it over to another set of IEMs. I've been using it on those. But yeah, this cable is really well constructed. It's got a very nice end. It's this kind of silver gray metal weave. Comes up to a metal split. Has a rubber chin strap thing right there. The only thing I don't like is this part up here. So the wire is stiff and kind of hard to deal with, and the earpiece is really stiff. I mean, it's okay once it's on, but it tends to pop up a little in the back of my ear, and it doesn't kind of want to sit too well. So I really feel it on my ears more than I do. So on the Tape Pros, I swapped out for a Linsol loops or whatever it is, just a Linsol cable. And this one's got a little memory wire in there, but it's very pliable, very easy to use, and because it's thin and light, and it feels very, very comfortable in my ear. I may end up using this cable over here. I don't know, but so that's the cable. Very, very nice cable. And for $149 IEM, I like to see that it comes with a nice cable and a nice case. It feels very, very high end. I would expect this cable. In fact, I've gotten some $500 and $600 IEMs where the cable's not as nice. So definitely, Letshuoer did a good job on this. The IEMs, very comfortable. They're kind of ugly. They got this weird platform thing. They milled the edges of it so the aluminum shows through, and you could tell it's aluminum. It's very cold when you first put it in your ear, when you hold it, when I'm touching it right now. It takes a bit. They warm up and then they feel fine, but they are very cold right at first. Especially now, it's winter over here. It's pretty cold where I'm at. So they've got an air vent on the top, right next to where the cables go in. I don't know if that's really the best place, because that kind of feels like you're going to get stuff in it because it's on top for stuff to fall in, but I don't know, maybe not. I won't be listening to long enough to really care, I don't think, but yeah, they're ugly. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's the one thing they could have done, is they could have thought of something better than this thing, but let's just, let's leave the looks aside right now. I don't want to be too critical about the looks. They sound pretty good. So I'll go over some notes I've got on this. Aha, Take On Me, recorded at MTV Studios. That's a song that I like, and I like to use that recording because that guy's voice is phenomenal, and it's a very high quality recording. On that song, the mids were good. His voice felt okay. His voice has this vibrato to it that I really like in that song. That's one of the reasons I like to use it as a test track. It sounded okay on here. It didn't sound great, but it sounded okay. It wasn't forward at all, the mids. They just felt like they were right in line with everything else. I will say that in comparison to some other recently tested IEMs, the vocals and the clarity on that song, it felt veiled a little bit with these. And I'm not sure why, because they weren't veiled in some other songs, but on that particular track, it did. And FYI, I used K9 Pro and my hit is, whatever you say it, AP80X, and the BTR7 to listen to. So not really any difference on all those. Of course, the K9 is a little bit higher end, obviously, than those other two, but and I get it's a different sound signature, but they sounded really good on all of them. Okay. Baden Powell, another one I like to listen to. He's a I believe Brazilian. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not. Guitarist and kind of a jazz guitarist, but Latin at the same time, Latin jazz. And Baden Powell, and the song is Samba Trieste, which I really love that song. If you can get a good recording of it, it's just fantastic. The mids and the bass were good. And on that song, because it's acoustic guitar and he's hitting that D string, that heavy bass on there, the deeper notes. I could really feel the bass end of the guitar notes coming through on these. Like I could feel it, which is something I really like. With IEMs, it's like, how do you even explain that, right? It's so tiny, it's just vibrating in your ear. It's not like a big speaker vibrating in your body, but some IEMs are able to do that. They're able to make you feel like you're feeling it in your body, which is a pretty interesting effect. I got that with these, and I really enjoyed that on there. It felt a lot clearer than that Aha song, Take On Me, I was just talking about. It didn't feel veiled at all, and the upper end on the strings, when he was playing and picking at it, it came through very clearly, and it was very enjoyable to listen to. One of the things that was weird though with that song is the mids on the guitar, because it's all guitar. Okay, so let's go with that. There's some other stuff playing in the background, some snare drum and some other things, and there's another guitarist in there too. But when he's strumming that guitar and he gets into that lower notes, it sounded good, but I will say that the mid part of that felt fuller than it should. It was a strange effect. It's like there's a background noise, but you can't really describe the background noise. It's like I can't say that it was a honk or a cymbal or it was. I can't explain to you what that noise was in the background. It just felt like, and it wasn't like that hissing noise you hear with some amps, right? It wasn't like that. It wasn't a sensitivity thing. It was just the bass is tuned up so much that you could get this kind of vibration in the background happening that felt a little unreal. And that was only in some of the mid sections on the guitar. Beyonce Lemonade, the album Lemonade, the song is Pray You Catch Me. I love that album, by the way, but I love her voice. That's the main reason. But the bass was incredible on that song. Really, really good. I was surprised actually, because a lot of IEMs don't pick up that bass too well, but this got the bass really good. Detail was very good, wasn't veiled. Mids were good. Her vocals sounded really good. And I could hear the details of her voice without fatigue, right? It wasn't like this crunchy upper end that was just too much after a while, right? Too much information. The upper end treble was good. It wasn't as detailed as I'd like it to be. There was some things that I felt were missing, like that I could hear in other songs when she's singing and she's close to the mic. But it was still good enough that I was happy with it, you know. The weird thing is this. I would say with these is that timbre just wasn't there for some reason. It's hard to explain. It's like I wish I was enough of a sound engineer to explain to you technically what makes timbre happen. Why one IEM can make timbre so realistic that I feel like I'm right there and I can see them playing. And then the next one will be really good in the sense that I really like listening to it. It sounds great, but I don't have that same three-dimensional feeling that I get, right? Where the timbre is just not the same. I don't know what happens from one to the next that causes that. I don't know if it's just the quality of the drivers inside of it, the tuning of it, whatever it is. These didn't really have what I'd call great timbre. I didn't get that 3D effect. I did it here and there, but it just wasn't like it is with, let's say, the Moondrop Variations, right? Or the Kinera Nana, which I know, much more expensive. But I've had some other lower end ones that, like, I think Audio Sense. Yeah, the Audio Sense, and I can't... I did compare these a lot to the Tape Pro. I just wanted to see, because these are $149, and the Tape Pros are also $149. That's what I paid for these. I went and looked back at my Amazon history, and these I also paid $149 for. So as far as, you know, the sound differences, they fixed the things that were kind of broken on this. So this didn't have good bass, and it paired well with a couple of tube amps. I've got it like the Little Bear, which sounds really good with this, by the way, if you want to test that out, if you've got these. But the bass on these is in the mids are much, much better than they are on this Tape Pro. So back to these. Metallica. Well, let's go to this one first. So I did Beyonce and Luther Vandross's song, "The Closer I Get to You," the remake of that. And man, Luther Vandross's voice, holy smokes. That was freaking fantastic. Now, the only thing about that song that I wish they'd done different is it really, really sounds like the bass and other instruments in the background are electronic, as if it was not a band in there, you know. I don't know for sure, but it sure sounds like that. And I listened to it on several different IEMs just to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing. You can go check it out for yourself, but it really sounded like that to me. But their vocals sounded fantastic. They sounded really good. Now, here's where I found a chink in the armor on these. What I noticed is that on Luther Vandross's voice, when he would hit high-end notes, the upper end, this graininess would come through on this, right? And the same thing with Beyonce. Yeah, it was with Beyonce as well. There was a graininess that would come through, and I thought, okay, maybe it's the recording. So I put on some other IEMs that are very revealing, let's say, no graininess at all. Sounded beautiful. I also tried the what are they, the KZ PR1 Pros. Those sounded better than these on that song. They did. That's all there was to it. So that song revealed some things on this I didn't like. The next one I tried out, I listened to like several Metallica songs off the Fade to Black album. I'm sorry, the song was Fade to Black and was one of them. I listened to a lot of songs. That was the one I made notes on. The details were very good. Now, when the bass extension would happen, when they would start slamming that guitar and hitting the bass, these things like took off. They shined, right? That's where they were really good. I listened to these against the PR1 Pro on that song, and I definitely like these better than the PR1 Pro. The PR1 Pro sounded no grain, and it sounded really better in the details actually, but it didn't have the bass extension that these have. It couldn't match that. The Crystal Method, I listened to a song called Watch Me Now. It was pretty awesome on these because of the bass. The bass on these was very tight in that song and very, really filled my head and vibrated, kind of made my body feel like I was feeling that bass, and I really liked it. And then I listened to Joe Walsh, Rocky Mountain Way, and holy shit, it sounded good. I mean, enough said. These things blew me away when I listened to that song. I listened to several other rock songs. I won't cover them. My conclusion kind of would be on these that if your library is rock and roll, older rock especially, and that's what you really like to listen to, these are a great set of IEMs for you. These have the clarity and they can pull through the detail. A little grainy on some of the high end stuff, but if you don't care that much, if you're not listening to stuff and being really audiophile like and trying to pull every little thing out, sometimes I think I do that too much, but that's because I'm doing these reviews and I'm kind of training my brain and my ear to do that, I guess. But for the average person that's looking for something that sounds great with rock and roll and doesn't want to spend more than $150, these are actually, I could really recommend these. They come with a beautiful cable, a nice case. They're not fancy looking, and maybe that plays in your favor if you're out someplace and no one's going to try and steal them from you. I don't know. They're not like the kind of high end sound that I really like, where the timbre is fantastic and there's this great stage and air and everything. But I really enjoyed listening to a lot of songs on these. I can't really fault these, other than that graininess that I heard in a few songs. And that weird veil I heard in the Aha song, which I don't know why I didn't do it on other songs, but it did on that one. I can, for $150, these are, I think, okay buy. I would not be unhappy after I bought these. I was actually really enjoying listening to them, especially for rock and roll. That's where they really shined. So my conclusion would be that these are a good buy at $150. I wouldn't be afraid to tell anybody, yeah, go pick these up if they were telling me that's the range they wanted to spend in. There's other stuff out there that's really close to these, and I'll get into that in some other videos that are coming up. But yeah, these are definitely a good IEM. So I hope this helps you out, and you have a great day.